Cool. Hello my friends, welcome to the metal shop. Today we are drilling the package shelf, that's what they call that, for the roll bar. Kind of fiddly, getting your measurements just right, and I can see now they wanted me to drill 2 1/4 inch holes. The roll bar is only 1.5 inches. To me 2 1/4 seemed pretty excessive. Now for this one here, I can see why they wanted the 2 1/4 inch hole, because the mounting is really hard to see. The mounting bolt is even with the floor. So if it was bigger, I'll be able to get the bolt through. I'm going to leave it like this. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little keyway here and a little keyway there to get the bolt in. Over here, it doesn't really matter because the bolt is way down there and it's much more easily accessible through the wheel well. Sorry, that's kind of dark, but you get the idea. Just wanted to, I'm going to transfer these holes. Those aren't so bad because that's going to be covered with carpet, and you can do a grommet, you can do dum-dum, whatever to fill those holes. Whereas up here on the body, there's no second chance. And up here, they only want you to drill 1 3/4 inch hole. And it has to be right, and this one's on an angle, so on and so forth. So, what else did I get done? The windshield is mounted. I got, and where are we here? You can see the post comes through. I notched it here for my foot pedals, and you drilled 1, 2 holes here and bolted it in place. Now over there on the driver's side, very easy, tons of room. Over here, terrible, awful. I had to use right angle attachment and all kinds of different drill bits to get that done. So yeah, that is currently where we're at. Cool. Significant pucker factor. Drilling the gas cap. Here goes. And there we have it. I love these Lennox hole saws. They are fantastic. I only use the other one to drill for the roll bar because that was the size I had, but these Lennox are by far superior. So, had to measure, had to make myself a little template here for the gas cap. This is the one that came with the car. This tiny little piece of crap, which kind of somewhat accurately looks like the street cars, the 289 cars. But I don't like this. I want the actual 427, big Le Mans cap. Should be mounted over here in the fender well, but there's really absolutely no way I can do that. So I made myself a template here because there is limited space up underneath here for the screws and for this to sit. I mean, it sits flush. The actual shaft that goes down is about 2 inches. That hole I drilled was 2 1/8. So this will drop in. It's super dirty. That looks like we did pretty good, in the words of Larry David. Let's get the vacuum cleaner out. I hate the fiberglass dust. Let's clean off that fiberglass and drop it back in. Cool. Don't know if you guys really care to see that or not. I just find it really satisfying to vacuum up all of the fiberglass dust. All right, that looks really good. And I jumped from drilling the roll bar, which going through the top here is going to be very complicated, to the gas cap, just because I wanted to get something done, get a little feeling of accomplishment. I did have to ease the edge on this hole just a little bit. I used a Dremel with the rotary sander, and that is because if you see here, the flange, it's got that little bit of an angle there. And in the instructions, they tell you, the Street Beasts instructions, which get a lot of, the company gets tons of bad press online, but the instructions get vilified too. They're not that bad. There's some very useful information in there. I'm glad that I checked, because if I drilled the hole where they wanted to, this gas cap never would have fit. And that's very typical of me, to follow the instructions, not realizing that I made a modification and then being screwed. Anyway, they want you to just to drill a bigger hole. Their answer to everything is, so you have this slop, just drill a bigger hole, it's easier. Drill a bigger hole, this will drop right in. Instead, I drilled the right sized hole, and I eased the edge, and it's just gonna be that much nicer. I wanted to point out that I found some really nice dimensions, Cobra dimensions. This is on ERA's website, ERA Cobra out of Connecticut, and they make some of the most accurate replicas going. They're expensive, but they're worth it. But they have these nice dimensions, and I was pleasantly surprised to find that my Cobra here, the Street Beast, which again, they get vilified because it's just a kit car, the dimensions are perfect. From the ground to the top of the headlight is correct. From the ground to the top of the fender well in the front is correct. From the ground to the top of the cowl is correct. But here is the problem. And I've pointed this out, and I'm going to keep on pointing it out, the gap. Now right now this is lifted up in the air, but the measurement from the ground, obviously this is raised up, but the measurement from the ground to the top of the fender when measured with a level was off. It's off 3.5 inches. Now you see that with the naked eye. That's why Street Beasts and other replicas, including the great Factory 5, and I'm being sarcastic, but I love the Factory 5 stuff, but their Mark 1, Mark 2, and I believe even the Mark 3 suffered this same problem. And it's not the body. What it is, it's the relationship between the suspension and the body. When my body's dropped down, it will be perfect. I'm going to cut at least one coil out of the spring, and I have to take into account a full gas tank, a battery, my 200-pound behind in the seat is going to drop at least an inch, but an inch or so you can fudge, but 3.5 inches you just cannot get away with that. Like I said, you see that with the naked eye, and it just screams to you that I'm a fake, I'm a copy, I'm a replica. When the dimensions from side to side are also accurate to ERA. I mean, Street Beasts or Classic Motor Carriages or whatever the company, I think they've had 4 different names. They splashed this body, which means when they copied the fiberglass from a real car. And you can tell the companies that did that and the companies that didn't. And Factory 5 even has updated and upgraded theirs with their Mark 4 to be hyper accurate. And they redid a lot of stuff, including that ERA calls it the perky butt. The butt, the slope in relation to the suspension just doesn't look right. All right, so taking the plunge, getting ready to drill the top here for the roll bar. And, it's a little bit of anxiety involved. I've only got the one body here. It's an orphan. I don't want to have to do fiberglass work to it if I get this wrong. Now, the instructions say to use a cardboard tube. You could use, if you had a nice one from a roll of paper towels, it would be, I cut this one exactly 1 foot long. I measured it. And I used the level. I got the tube, perpendicular on 3 sides. And then, you mark the top. Tough to see, but I did mark it with a Sharpie. And of course, this is a compound curve in there. You mark the top, and then I could drill a pilot hole through the center of my circular marking, and then drill with a hole saw. You drill 1 3/4 holes through the top. This is hardly the difficult part of the installation. getting those two perpendicular holes correct. Stand by 1 second and I will show you. The difficult part is going to be, straight on holes, is going to be getting this hole cut. It's an ellipse, kind of, on an angle, and it's not just the hole in the top. We got to go through here too, which is, of course, this doesn't matter. This can be much bigger and plenty of fudging room in here, but the top, you want it to look nice. And here's where, one of the differences with the Street Beast Cobra that I don't like, but it goes with their suspension, is they use 1.5-inch tube, which is perfect. The loop is very close, maybe just a touch narrow. I have a pretty good calibrated eyeball. I'd say it's narrow by 3/4 of an inch, maybe an inch. The true Cobras were a little bit wider, but this third leg on the Cobras went at much further back, tying in to their frame, and you could see it going through the trunk and everything else. This is very stubby, but you make some concessions. So I'm gonna measure, and measure some more, and I'm gonna drill that hole in the top. All right, so here's what I ended up doing. I did use the paper towel tube method and the level to trace my line on the top. Then I drilled a pilot hole, but what I did secondarily, and I did it on this hole, was I got this rod. I drilled the hole bigger, and I dropped the rod through to the center of the mount, and then, sorry, that's my hand in the frame. And then I held a level on it, making sure that it was perfectly up and down. I used this to make sure that it was centered in the hole, and glad I did, because you can see my first hole, I missed by that much. So this, I dropped it through to the center. It's like using a plumb bob, but with this rod, it's perfect. You gotta level it at least in 2 directions, which I've done 3. And now we're ready to drill with the 1 3/4 hole saw. You saw enough of me doing that yesterday, so I'll spare you. All right, well, looks good, but I'm quitting for the day. I've had enough. This still isn't fully seated all the way down. It's just kind of binding up, and I'm sure if I tapped it with a rubber mallet and jockeyed it back and forth, I could get it to seat. But quite honestly, even as it sits right now, I feel it's a little bit too short. I'm probably going to take the whole thing out, and I've had this powder coated already. No big deal. It was not inexpensive. I think I'm going to have some extensions welded onto those legs to lift the roll bar up, because like I said, even as it sits right now without being fully seated, I'm not happy with the way it looks. Maybe as it sits, it needs to come up 1/2 inch or so, 3/4 of an inch. Part of the issue is, and I don't know if we'll be able to see this or not in there. Hang on 1 second, my friends. Let me get a flashlight here. The body is not sitting flush. It sits flush back here, all along the frame rails, but it's not sitting there, and it's almost an inch, I would say, and that's throwing off probably what threw off this measurement with a hole isn't correct, and no amount of twisting and tweaking and moving is, I think it may be, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, that sitting up on jack stands, it puts kind of some unnatural strain on the body, because I did notice when I was lifting it up that gap started to increase. So I think when I put it back on the ground, it will take care of that. But I got to have some extensions welded on there and lift that thing up a good amount, and that's going to change, I believe. Maybe it wouldn't actually. I don't know. Not far from a math expert. I don't know if I lift this up higher. No, it's going to change it. I mean, might not be much, but it'll be slight. This angle, say it hits right here, you lift it up, and now it should be here. Lift it up more, it's a little bit in here. So we're gonna have to hold off on that. Anyway, my friends, thanks for watching. I feel like we got a lot accomplished this weekend. And I'm still going to do some more work tomorrow. It's beautiful out here in the metal shop. Hopefully it's beautiful tomorrow. And I am also going to put in one of those shields. This is a compromise to put the gas cap in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in one of those FIA splash shields here to kind of give it that look that I want. All right, I'm going to end here. Thanks for all your support, my friends. Please, if you're new to the channel, check out all my other videos. Give me a like and give me a subscribe. And hang in there, my friends. We're gaining. All right, take care. Bye-bye.